Charles Ives was a pioneering individualist with a deep love for everyday Americans and their music. Ives was born in Danbury, Connecticut in 1874. His father, George Ives, was a leader of the town band. George encouraged his son to accept no boundaries, to constantly experiment in musical thought and sound. Charles Ives attended Yale University, where he received a traditional music education, but he remained a restless iconoclast. He also possessed a Yankee practicality. Charles Ives founded the largest insurance agency in the country and composed music in his spare time.
My work in music helped my business, and my work in business helped my music. The fabric of existence weaves itself whole.
Such paradox reveals the true spirit of Ives.
An apparent confusion, if lived with long enough, may become orderly. A rare experience of a moment at daybreak cannot be explained at noon, yet it is part of the day's unity.
Charles Ives loved to exalt the common American by quoting national tunes in his compositions. To begin its exploration of music of nations, the Dallas Symphony Orchestra will open its 2004-2005 season in September with a performance of Ives' Variations on America, led by music director Andrew Litton.
This is music of such tremendous vitality and humor, it could only have been written by an American. And this concert also features songs by another American genius, Aaron Copland, and also the beloved New World Symphony, which Antonin Dvorak wrote inspired by his visits to America.
The Dallas Symphony's exploration of the music of Charles Ives continues with a performance of his Symphony No. 3, subtitled The Camp Meeting. Ives won the Pulitzer Prize for this work when he was 72. Typical of Ives, he gave away the $25,000 award.
Prizes are for boys, and I'm all grown up.
In Ives' lifetime, only a few conductors even looked at his music. One of those was Gustav Mahler, conductor of the New York Philharmonic. Mahler planned to perform Ives' Third Symphony, but sadly Mahler died before that performance could take place.
For this September concert, Maestro Litton has also programmed Dvorak's vivacious Scherzo Capriccioso and a performance of Brahms' monumental Piano Concerto No. 1, featuring Dallas favorite Andre Watts. Three Places in New England is Charles Ives' musical portrait of three settings, which held for him great meaning. A Civil War monument to Shaw's African-American regiment, a former Revolutionary camp during a 4th of July celebration, and a wooded riverside where he once took a walk with his wife Harmony.
This is one of Ives' best known and most accessible scores. We recorded Three Places in New England on our American Tapestry CD for Dorian Records. It is a masterpiece of descriptive color and atmosphere.
In October, Dallas Symphony principal guest conductor Klaus-Peter Flohr joins the celebration of Charles Ives' music, leading the Dallas Symphony Orchestra in a performance of Three Places in New England, as well as Antonin Dvorak's inspired Symphony No. 8 and Beethoven's revolutionary Piano Concerto No. 4. The Dallas Symphony Orchestra's celebration of Charles Ives and his music resumes in January with his Symphony No. 2. The composer was very specific about the autobiographical program behind this work.
This expresses the musical feelings of the Connecticut countryside around Reading and Danbury in the 1890s, the music of the country folk. It is full of tunes they sang and played then.
The Second Symphony has echoes of Bach and Brahms, but goes on to depict a rollicking barn dance complete with fiddler's jigs and Stephen Foster songs. Ives completed it around 1900, but it wasn't played in public until Leonard Bernstein and the New York Philharmonic premiered it in 1951, just a few years before Ives' death.
In addition to Ives' Symphony No. 2, Andrew Litton will lead the Dallas Symphony in Postludio for Strings by Joaquin Gutierrez Heras, and the remarkable Sarah Chang will return to Dallas for a performance of Dvorak's Concerto for Violin and Orchestra. The exhilarating visionary music of Charles Ives is just part of the 2004-2005 Dallas Symphony season. For concert and ticket information, please visit DallasSymphony.com. We hope you'll join us for this exciting journey of history, passion, and pride. Charles Ives was one of American music's most complex and paradoxical characters, a prolific artist and a successful businessman, an original thinker with a thorough knowledge of tradition, and an ardent individualist who venerated community. Born in Danbury, Connecticut in 1874, Charles Ives learned music from his father, George Ives, a former Union bandmaster in the Civil War. George Ives was obsessed with music and sound, but he never pursued a full-time career as a musician. He also encouraged his son to keep music a passionate avocation.
Father felt that a man could keep his music interest stronger, cleaner, bigger, and freer if he didn't try to make a living out of it.
George also encouraged his son to test every accepted practice and to experiment with sound.
George would have Charlie sing in one key as he accompanied in another. He played his cornet over a pond so Charlie could gauge the effect of space. He even once set two bands marching around a park blaring different tunes at the same time just to delight in the sound. His son later wrote compositions which recreated that moment.
George Ives instilled in his son the belief that music is something more than just notes. Charles recalled his father commenting on a chorister's off-key hymn singing.
Look into his face and hear the music of the ages. Don't pay too much attention to the sounds, for if you do, you may miss the music. You won't get a wild, heroic ride to heaven on pretty little sounds.
Charles also found time to indulge a passion for sports. One summer day, he played outfield for his baseball team in the afternoon and played a full organ recital in the evening. At age 14, he was the youngest salaried church organist in Connecticut and had begun composing music. At Yale University, Charles mastered the art of European chamber and orchestral composition. Known to his schoolmates as Dasher, Charles became one of the most popular and active fellows on campus.
Soon after Charles began at Yale, his father, George Ives, died suddenly of a stroke. Charles never quite got over it. He spoke of his father constantly to the end of his life. It's been said that Charles went on to write the music his father heard.
Upon graduation from Yale, Charles took a job as a $15 a week clerk with the Mutual Life Insurance Company of New York.
If a composer has a nice wife and some nice children, how can he let them starve on his dissonances?
In 1905, Ives renewed his acquaintance with Harmony Twitchell, a nurse he had met during his college days. Charles and Harmony were married in June of 1908.
Just before the wedding ceremony, Mark Twain inspected the groom and declared him fit fore and aft. The couple was married by the Reverend Joseph Twitchell, Harmony's father, who became an important surrogate father for Charles.
In the spirit of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the couple saw their love as a reflection of divine love and came to see Charles's music as their means of spreading that love into the world. Charles and Harmony would remain a devoted couple throughout their lives. Ives went on to form the largest insurance agency in the country, composing music in his spare time. But the strain of maintaining two careers was immense, and in October 1918, Charles Ives was reported to have suffered a heart attack. One day in 1927, Ives came downstairs in tears and told his wife, "I can't seem to compose anymore. I try and nothing comes out right." 3 years later, he retired from public life. For the remainder of his life, Ives corresponded with those who expressed an interest in his work, edited compositions for publication, and supervised the copying of his music. Charles Ives died in May 1954, knowing that his music would have to wait for public recognition.
An apparent confusion, if lived with long enough, may become orderly. A rare experience of a moment at daybreak cannot be explained at noon. Yet, it is part of the day's unity.
The exhilarating, visionary music of Charles Ives is just part of the 2004-2005 Dallas Symphony season. For concert and ticket information, please visit DallasSymphony.com. We hope you'll join us for this exciting journey of history, passion, and pride. Though truly original, Charles Ives and his music exist in a far-reaching context of past, present, and the composer's own visionary perception of the future. Ives was influenced by the American transcendentalist writers of the late 19th century, notably Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ives found affinity with Emerson's belief in the universal mind as an expression of the divine within all humanity, and in a sense of personal responsibility translated into action.
Ives' celebration of the universal mind spilled over into his work in insurance. His innovations in estate planning were intended as a way of assuring a strong community, allowing individuals to provide for their families.
In his music, Ives celebrated the ordinary American as well as his beloved New England countryside. But Ives never turned his back on European influences.
Charles Ives was a professional organist. And of course, he delighted in the music of Johann Sebastian Bach. And he absorbed Bach's example of musical craftsmanship.
To see a sunrise, a man has but to get up early, and he can always have a Bach in his pocket.
Charles Ives often adopted organizational principles of late 18th century classical composers such as Mozart and Beethoven, forms such as symphony and sonata.
Charles Ives was a musical thinker in the mold of the great 19th century romantics. Like Tchaikovsky or Berlioz, he saw music as something that embodies emotion, and he was interested in the effect music has on the listener. He was deeply affected by nature. He attempted to depict his surroundings in his music, to relive life experiences through his art.
Ives' mature music also sounded very modern. He wrote music in more than one key at a time, used tone clusters and other dissonances, and employed complex shifting meters.
Ives was creating a new musical language, at once American, European, and modern. He believed that musical conventions were naturally evolving to a point where his novel techniques would be understood and treated as commonplace.
In some century to come, when the school children will whistle popular tunes in quarter tones, when the diatonic scale will be as obsolete as the pentatonic is now. Perhaps then these borderland experiences may be both easily expressed and readily recognized. But maybe music was not intended to satisfy the curious definiteness of man. Maybe it's better to hope that music may always be a transcendental language in the most extravagant sense.
The exhilarating, visionary music of Charles Ives is just part of the 2004-2005 Dallas Symphony season. For concert and ticket information, please visit dallassymphony.com. We hope you'll join us for this exciting journey of history, passion, and pride.